vessels to ferry supplies.
The administration and the president, every time that we've spoken, I've had an ask, they've delivered.
The vice president promised to pass the largest tax cut in U.S. history.
As the economy expands, we'll be able to more than pay for these tax cuts.
You'll pay less, and it will be easier to pay, and you won't have to pay somebody else to do it for you.
Steve Scalise returned to a hero's welcome.
When I was laying out on that ball field, I just started to pray. At that point, it was in God's hands. I'm definitely a living example that miracles really do happen.
Players sending a message of unity during the national anthem, linking arms together.
The Packers can get us to come out in 10-degree below weather, but they can't get us to disrespect our flag.
We all should stand for the flag. This is America.
And before he started singing, they were chanting USA in the stands.
They were.
And everyone was watching to see what the Bears and Packers would do.
And saluting the flag as well. Tommy Laren's on the couch this morning.
Great to be here.
Good to have you.
Thank you so much.
You as well. So what do you make of last night? You know, all eyes were going to be on the Packers-Bears game, and as it turns out, the Packers had asked their fans to everybody link arms for social justice and unity, but the fans said, you know, the team can do what they want to do. We're just simply going to cheer, put our hands on our heart, and sing the national anthem.
You don't mess with the Midwest. Someone that's from the Midwest, I can tell you that. You don't mess with our flag, you don't mess with our anthem, you don't mess with our patriotism. But beyond that, this whole we're going to link arms for solidarity. How about we put our hand over our heart for solidarity? Because that's really, in essence, what it means. So now we're gonna link arms. It's the same political statement, and fans are still going to be upset about it. They can pull whatever they want, they can pull whatever stunt they want and change it up. Same message, same disrespect.
We had about three. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we had Brandon Tatum on the show earlier. If you've not pulled up his video on YouTube, it now has, I think, 400,000 views. He's a police officer in Arizona, and he is fed up, as you can imagine, about the kneeling of the anthem, and it's something that you have to see. So we talked to him on the show this morning, and he talks about the NFL being the one that's divisive, not the president. Here's what he told us.
I think that the American people are wise enough to know that the true unity is when you put your hand over your heart. I don't think the president is being divisive. I think the fact that you take a knee on the flag is you're starting division right there. And I think the president is trying to bring things back around and full circle and say, okay, we need to realize what unity means, and we need to stand for the flag and not divide ourselves by disrespecting America to push an agenda.
When has a flag ever been controversial?
Now it is in 2017. Isn't that just sad, really? But going back to what he said, it's a slap in the face to our police officers, to our veterans, to our military. And I'm wondering, those that are sticking up for this, especially the Democrats who seem to be coming out in force for the NFL, for these players, is that their new agenda? Is anti-America, is that really the agenda they want to push? That's going to help them in 2018? Is that going to help them in 2020? I don't think so. But continue and see how the fans react.
The NFL really does not know what to do. They had a meeting yesterday, but nothing really came out of it in terms of a mandate. The word is the Giants owner has said, do me a favor. I want you to stand for the national anthem. I'm not making you. And there's a sense the Giants will. The Broncos have committed to stand. The Patriots have committed to stand. The Steelers out of the locker room, they'll all be standing on the sideline. Do you think that this is over now?
No, I don't. But you know what? I would tell those players that are kneeling that they don't seem to understand what that flag and that anthem mean. I would encourage them to go to a VFW, and I would encourage them to speak to some veterans and see what that flag means to them. And maybe they might feel a little bit differently about their little stunts if they would go and see it, that perspective, and what that flag means to others.
I know you talk a lot about politics, and now that you're here with us as a Fox News contributor, politically, is this a win for Donald Trump?
I think it is. You have to remember his America First message. That's what brought him into office. That's what brought so many Republicans on his coattails into office. So standing up for the anthem and the flag and America First, that is absolutely what his base wants. That's what I want. That's what Americans should want. They want a president that stands up for them, stands up for the country. Isn't it great?
Making the anthem great again.
Exactly.
Would we have had the same reaction, though, had he used different words to talk about it when he called them SOBs and he used the language that we often hear from the president? Look, that's his style. That is the man that wants elected into office. But many people say, look, he should have talked. He has the winning side of this argument, but maybe he should have talked about it a little bit differently.
You know, I understand that, but it's Donald Trump. You're not going to change him. And I think that that's the way that most folks in the Midwest, they feel. They use those words. They use that language. That's how they connect with each other. That's how they're connecting with this president. Whereas some people might not like the words he uses. I get so tired of this. Well, I wish he wouldn't tweet this. I wish he wouldn't say that. My goodness, if that's your biggest problem with the president, I'm okay.
Also, you can't take expletives literally. People are they're breaking it down by the essence of the word. Most expletives are impossible to actually fulfill. Yeah. Meanwhile, let's talk about this. The war on history in general. Do you think this plays into it between statues, between monuments, between what's happening on college campuses? Do you think that's part of this pushback on about America?
It's let's make America less American. That is what the left wants. That is what liberal college professors want. They want to do anything they can to erase history and to erase every shred of patriotism. I think that's what happened in Europe. I think it's still happening in Europe. And if we're not careful, it's going to happen here. But luckily, we have a president that's going to stand his ground, and you have Americans that are going to follow him and follow his lead.
Okay. I don't know if folks have seen this, but it is our Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. She was at Harvard. She was greeted by a number of protesters who held up white supremacist sign, at least one of them right there. What do you think about that? What are those kids at Harvard saying?
That's the go-to. No, if you look at the resistance, as they call themselves, that's what they do. They use identity politics and they use labels to try to silence people. It's disrespectful. And the go-to label being a white supremacist, when you really throw that out willy-nilly and you just don't care who you call that to, that actually makes the country safer for actual white supremacists, because it's, oh, if you throw us all in that basket of deplorables, then you really can't separate the true white supremacists from those of us who are just conservative. What is going on? It's so disrespectful, but, you know, I wouldn't put it past any liberal university.
Right now.
Of course it is, and it's a losing one.
Well, speaking of disrespectful, this is also going on. A librarian rejects the First Lady Melania Trump's gift of a Dr. Seuss book to an elementary school because they're racist. They say send the book somewhere else.
Isn't that amazing?
Green Eggs and Ham.
It's amazing.
One of my favorite childhood books of all time.
They would rather put the children at a disadvantage than accept a gift from the First Lady because she's a Trump. It's amazing. They really are putting their own hatred above the country, above their students, above what's good for everyone.
This week, Alabama had an election, and they had Steve Bannon's candidate win over Donald Trump's candidate. And some have speculated this is the beginning of somewhat of a civil war on the right. Do you sense that? An establishment, maybe the Jeff Flakes of the world, John McCain's of the world, as opposed to a Judge Moore?
We're going to see so much more of this. The establishment can't hide anymore. They really cannot, and they have to do something. That's the biggest thing. It's not being pro-Trump or anti-Trump or a never-Trumper. I don't care about any of that. I want you to be a conservative. I want you to do what we sent you there to do. Get something done. When Donald Trump is having to turn to the Democrats now and have to work with them because our own party refuses to, that says something. They're no longer going to be safe.
Now, you are working as a Fox News contributor, and you're online at foxnews.com doing what?
Boy, Final Thoughts. It's the new home for Final Thoughts. So I think that my voice is being heard loud and clear. I know Michelle Obama thinks that because I didn't vote for Hillary that perhaps I don't have a voice, but oh boy do I.
So where can people find you?
Well, right now, foxnews.com, Fox News Insider, that's where the home of my Final Thoughts. And we put them on my Facebook page as well. So all my fans that know me from Facebook, we share them there too.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. All right, let's go over to Jillian for some other headlines we were following. Happy Friday, Jillian.
Happy Friday.
And National Coffee Day.
I've seen them on Twitter as well. Tommy, welcome. A climber is lucky to be alive after surviving not one, but two dangerous rock falls at Yosemite National Park. Peter Zabrock capturing the exact moment massive boulders fell at the famous El Capitan summit directly beneath him. One climber was killed. Then one day later, another slide in the same area, just feet from where he was climbing. Officials estimate the second rock slide was 10 times larger than the first. Two police officers are shot by an enraged customer at a BMW dealership. The man pulling a gun on the officers when they confronted him in a parking lot just outside Cleveland, Ohio. One cop was shot in the stomach, the other in the leg. They are both in stable condition. The suspect was also shot and recovering in the hospital. Witnesses say he was unhappy that his car wasn't done on time, but an official motive is still unknown. Twitter finding and shutting down nearly 200 accounts linked to Russia. The social media site revealing the information to Congress as they investigate Russia's influence on the 2016 election. But Democratic Senator Mark Warner says Twitter is not doing enough.
Their response was, frankly, inadequate on almost every level.
Twitter, Facebook, and Google have been asked to testify in public by both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. He's the 43rd president and the #1 grandpa, George W. Bush, paying a special bedtime visit to his granddaughters. The girls, 2-year-old Poppy and 4-year-old Mila, snuggling up in matching donut pajamas. What else would you wear? Their mom and former first daughter, Jenna Bush Hager, posting the adorable photos online. Gotta love that. Don't you like when you get a little inside look?
So cute.
I love that stuff.
And Jenna's so good about doing that. She always
is.
posts photos of her family and her kids and her grandparents.
That was 43.
Yep.
With the granddaughter.
Love it.
Lovely.
Thanks,
All right.
Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian. 10 minutes now after the hour. Fox News Alert, Puerto Rico in crisis. People desperate for help at this hour. Supplies run dangerously low. Geraldo Rivera has been living this, too. He's on the ground with his family and with the citizens. He's going to give us the inside story next.
Plus, Tommy just mentioned it, former First Lady Michelle Obama now attacking women who voted for President Trump, saying they voted against their own voice. Well, Judge Jenny Pirro here with more on that. She is fired up.
14 minutes after the hour now, we're back with the Fox News Alert. Relief efforts underway in Puerto Rico in the wake of Hurricane Maria. It's been 8 days.
8 days. People there desperate for help as power, water, and gas remain still in short supply.
Fox News correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera, is live at the Convention Center in San Juan, Puerto Rico with the latest. Geraldo, I know you and I were talking last night about the desperate situation there. There's a lot of American relief there at the port, but it simply can't get out to the folks because of transportation problems.
Transportation problems and also management. There's nobody in charge logistically. You have aid coming in, Steve, from private charities. You have aid coming from the federal government. There is absolute chaos. There are two races going on. One is to get people out of Puerto Rico, the other to get aid in. I saw that chaos firsthand on the docks where the cruise liners have come in to do a mercy mission. The America of the Seas in yesterday. Chaos, absolute chaos. It reminds you of bygone days. Listen.
People are fighting for water. They're fighting for diapers, for pampers, for anything they can find. We don't have water, running water. We don't have electricity. Honestly, there hasn't been any help coming for us.
This is absolutely the worst natural disaster, FEMA is telling me, ever. 3.4 million people, the vast majority of them, almost all of them, if you don't have a generator, you have no electrical power, there's water. It's only about half of the people in Puerto Rico waiting on gas lines 6, 8, 10 hours. The officials haven't even gotten to the entire island yet. There are down power lines on the south side, scarcely a street without the electrical power lines broken and lying in the street, homes destroyed everywhere. You know, I have a personal connection on the south side too. I owned property there until a couple of months ago for 14 years. The people who work for me have been devastated. Their businesses have been destroyed. My friend Jose Cuevas there, he has not seen any kind of assistance. No aid has come to him. His daughter Natalie actually was my secretary at Fox News, and she describes what the storm was like when it passed over them down in Salinas on the south side of Puerto Rico. Here's Natalie.
Where were you during the storm?
Here.
You were? How was it?
Horrible. Yes, it was very horrible.
Jose's a big, strong guy. To see him almost in tears with frustration, with the absolute loss. There's no way to pay their bills. Their businesses are destroyed. Businesses are largely closed throughout the island. The smaller shops are opening. They're very enterprising, the people here. But the needs cannot be overstated. When disasters hit, typically 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 25,000 people are affected most severely. Here in Puerto Rico, it's over 3 million Americans. Citizens now. And basically, the dark thing that it breaks your heart. It really breaks your heart. And when I looked at the port of San Juan yesterday, like the airport in San Juan, they're operating at 30–40% capacity. There does not seem to be coordination between the private agencies and the public agencies. There seems to be, a kind of, I mean, the governor is a good person. They're trying hard, but the magnitude, and I have to stress that the magnitude of this absolute disaster is so generalized that it's going to take a long time to dig our way out of this one.
You have the president coming on Tuesday, a three-star general now there today, Lieutenant General Jeff Buchanan. If the military takes this over, is the island the size in which, and how long will it take if the military comes here in force, which they're on their way? How long will it take before their impact will be felt from the
When he went to Katrina, Katrina was a mess. People were dying in the convention center in New Orleans when Katrina hit. Nobody knew what to do. The FEMA was basically running around chasing its tail. General Henry came and he got things organized. That's the same thing with General Buchanan. I believe that when that three-star general becomes the incident commander and everybody reports to the general and the United States military takes control, I think you can get these ports operating in a way, in a crisp and efficient way where the aid can come in. People are so generous. Yep. People are reaching out to me, churches and so forth. How can I help? Geraldo, will you take this or that? When you have the United States military in control, I think in a period of weeks rather than months, at least you will have an organized, flowing stream of aid in and people out. We've got to get people out. There are tourists here who have been stranded here.
Can't even get to their money because ATMs are down. Geraldo doing a great job. Hang in there. Help is on the way.
That's right.
Thinking about you all, Geraldo. Thank you so much.
It's just so complicated because it's not like a town in the United States where there are roads in. It's an island.
Yeah, makes it impossible almost.
All right. Meanwhile, 8:20 here in New York City, a bench memorializing a teenager killed in a tragic accident is being removed because of a Bible verse.
Plus, our next guest used to sit for the national anthem until he got a reality check. Jason Riley here with an important message for all those protesters. He's here in a matter of seconds.
And we are back with some quick headlines. State employees and Medicaid recipients can now get free abortions in the state of Illinois. Republican Governor Bruce Rauner now facing criticism for signing a bill to allow that. He says the moral argument against the bill is not debatable, but that he is ultimately pro-choice and always has been. And this country seal will soon be without a cross. A federal judge ruling that the image at the center of the Lehigh County, Pennsylvania seal is unconstitutional. The ruling siding with an atheist group that promotes the separation of church and state. The judge says the seal should be redesigned to be inclusive. Brian, Steve, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Abby. As the debate over the national anthem protest heats up in the NFL, our next guest says he used to kneel for the anthem as well, but he has a reality check for those professional players.
All right. Wall Street Journal's own columnist, Manhattan Institute senior fellow, and author of False Black Power, Jason Riley. Jason, you grew up, your religion said you couldn't stand for the national anthem. You changed when you became a teen. You remember that moment when you're at a game and you stood with your dad. What was that like?
Oh, I thought he felt very good about it. It was the first time I'd done it. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and we were taught really to shun all forms of patriotism. So we didn't stand for national anthems or salute the flag. It was considered a form of idolatry. But when I left the religion in my teens and started standing for it, I think my dad liked that. He was not a Jehovah's Witness, and my parents were divorced.
Growing up, though, in a country where everybody stands for the national anthem and things like that, it had to be hard for you.
Oh, yes, it was hard. It was, well, one of many things that made you stand out when I was growing up in the religion. But I don't challenge the patriotism of these players. What I'm questioning is whether what is being protested has some basis in reality. The players have said it's this increase in shootings by police of young black men that they're protesting. And while I would agree that there has been an increase in the coverage of these shootings, thanks mostly to social media, that's not the same thing as saying there's been an increase in the shootings. The data does not show that. Take New York City, where we are, for example. In 1971, cops shot 314 people in New York, 91 of them, or 93 of them fatally, I believe. Fast forward to 2015, they shot 23 people, 6 of them fatally. That's a 90% reduction in police shootings and police shooting fatalities over the past 4.5 decades. So the trend has been in the opposite direction. Nationwide, black men are about 70% less likely to be shot by cops than they were in the late 1960s. A black economist at Harvard, Roland Fryer, put out a study in 2016 that said black suspects are less likely than white suspects to be shot by police. So again, I'm challenging the narrative that they are protesting out.
Spike Lee says, he said yesterday or 2 days ago that he believes that Colin Kaepernick and this whole movement that you just discussed will be put in the same frame as Muhammad Ali, standing up, fighting, not going into the Vietnam War.
I hope not. I don't think that is proper. I think that, again, people need to know the facts about what's going on. If they wanted to play a constructive role, I think they could be saying to young black kids out there, when the police say, stop, stop. Don't resist arrest. Fight them in courts, not out in the street. Most of these incidents that we've seen that have been played up in the media involve resisting arrest. And so I think the lesson to be learned here is to obey the police when they ask you to do something.
But your larger issue, and you wrote, the larger question, this is in his column in the Wall Street Journal, it's great. The larger question is whether what is being protested has some basis in reality beyond anecdotes and viral videos on social media, which you talked about a moment ago. So what are you saying about the folks who are doing the protesting? Are they simply, they're just not getting their history right?
I think they don't have the facts right. And I think, again, coverage has given the impression that there's been an increase in these incidents overall, and the data doesn't show that. Now, there are people out there who don't mind this false narrative. If it works to their advantage, they have a political reason to do it, or there's social justice warriors who have other reasons to do it, but that doesn't mean that that is the reality of what's going on. In other words, I think, to some extent, these players are being taken advantage of. By larger forces, political forces, civil rights advocates, and so forth, who find this convenient. The political left, yeah.
We'll see if the worst is behind us for this league and with this whole battle between patriotism and social justice. Jason, great column as usual.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you, sir.
All right, 31 minutes before we're done.
Coming up from Washington to Hollywood, former Attorney General Eric Holder getting a TV drama based on Eric Holder. Think they'll include the time the U.S. House of Representatives held him in contempt? I bet not.
And former First Lady Michelle Obama now attacking women who voted for President Trump, saying they voted against their own voice. Judge Janine has a voice. She usually speaks up. I wonder how she feels.
All right, there you've got a Black Lives Matter demonstration a while back in St. Paul, Minnesota. Joining us right now is the host of Justice, Judge Janine Pirro. Judge, let's talk a little bit about how a police officer anonymously sued Black Lives Matter because he was at a demonstration where he was injured by somebody threw a rock or a bottle or something like that. And now a judge has come out and made it very clear you can't sue Black Lives Matter. Why?
Right. The judge says you can't sue Black Lives Matter because it's an organization like the Civil Rights Movement, like the Tea Party. It doesn't have a governing body. It doesn't have bylaws.
Too general?
It doesn't have, yeah, it's too much. It's too amorphous. And yet the plaintiff in this case said, look, these people have meetings. It's an unincorporated association. They have national chapters. They solicit money, and in this particular case, DeRay McKesson, the organizer, actually was directing people, directing the violence.
So can you sue him?
Yeah, you can sue him, but guess what? The judge said, you know what? He was engaging in protected free speech. Now, I want you to guess who appointed this federal judge.
Ronald Reagan?
No.
Didn't think so.
Barack Obama. And you know what? The amazing part of this is that DeRay McKesson and I think it's about 90 of the people who were protesting, there is the federal judge right there, actually got $100,000 from the city of Baton Rouge because Baton Rouge, they said, was very offensive to them, and the police were militarized. And although no one was injured, they felt that their civil rights were violated. What is wrong with this country today? The problem is when you have federal judges who make decisions based on politics, activist judges, and not on the facts. You've got a police officer who was injured. He was injured at the direction of DeRay McKesson. DeRay McKesson walks away with $100,000 for an organization that is amorphous. We got a problem in this
You're going to
country.
have some thoughts about this one. Former First Lady Michelle Obama now speaking out to the women who decided to vote for Donald Trump. She says this was ultimately a vote against your own voice. Here's what she said.
Any woman who voted against Hillary Clinton voted against their own voice. What does it mean for us? That we look at those two candidates as women, and many of us said, that guy, he's better for me. His voice is more true to me. Well, to me, that just says, you don't like your voice. You like the thing you're told to like.
So there's a lot of reverb in that response, but there was a big message to women. How dare you not vote for the first woman president and for Donald Trump, who she assumes is anti-woman?
Well, but the condescension of, how dare you? You should know better. Now, I want to ask you a question. Who ran against Barack Obama?
It was a woman.
It was a woman.
Hillary
so
Clinton.
I guess then Michelle Obama didn't know her own voice when she voted for her husband against a woman.
Well, how do you know she voted for her husband?
Well, maybe she didn't. Maybe she voted for the woman. But, to suggest that women are so simple that they vote based on their reproductive organs only, or Madeleine Albright saying that there's a special place in hell for women who don't vote for other women, is just so simplistic. It throws us back to the dark ages. Women voted for Donald Trump for two reasons in 2016, the economy and terrorism, and I might add, most of them thought that Hillary Clinton was a crook and she was arrogant, but that may just be me.
Yeah, that might be. Also, LeBron James also said anyone who really voted for Donald Trump was just uneducated. So it's a whole...
Gee, I guess I don't have a law degree.
The deplorable headline just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Judge, good to see you this morning. Always.
Good to see
we'll see you all weekend long.
That's right.
All right.
All right, over to Jillian now for some other headlines we're following. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good Friday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's begin with this headline. The Department of Justice enforcing the president's Buy American, Hire American executive order. The DOJ hitting the Colorado-based Crop Production Services with a massive lawsuit. The corporation is accused of discriminating against at least 3 U.S. workers, refusing to hire them as seasonal technicians. Instead, the company hired temporary foreign workers under a visa program. This is why you buckle your kids into their car seats correctly every single time. That's the message from a Pennsylvania mom sharing this powerful photo after a car crash. You can see the two car seats undamaged in front of her destroyed Honda. Her 6-week-old and 3-year-old escaping without a single scratch. A memorial bench honoring a dead teen is being removed over a Bible verse. The community in Charlotte County, Virginia, donated the bench to a high school in March. But now they're taking issue with the quote. It reads, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." The school board saying the Bible verse doesn't follow the law. And to keep the bench, it will need a new quote. Hundreds now signing a petition to keep the bench where it is. A disaster ending to a picture-perfect Caribbean wedding. Watch. Oh my goodness, the dock giving out during the vows, plunging guests right into the water, taking the camera along with them. Luckily, though, the bride and groom stayed dry, but they did get their something blue.
Well played,
say
Jillian.
that. That's not, I'm not responsible for that one.
Hey, they will never forget that day. That's
No,
for
they
sure.
will not.
That is amazing. All right, let's go to Janice Dean. Janice, it finally feels like fall
It does.
in New York City. It's cool.
Isn't it a beautiful day out here in New York City?
wearing a coat.
Where are you guys from? Alabama. I love all of your states that you're from. What's your name?
Roseanne.
And where are you from?
Long Island, New York, Coatesville.
And what's your bucket list?
to be here at Fox News this morning. I'm 75 years old today, and I'm very proud of it.
Happy birthday! Yay! Let's take a look at the maps real quick. You know what? It's cooler than it was yesterday by 17 degrees, and we love it. We love the fall temperatures here in New York City. We'll be in the 60s today. We're at 55 right now. Cooler across the Rockies as well, where we're going to see the potential for a little bit of snow. We're also watching the tropics here. Maria and Lee, not a big deal, but an area of low pressure across Florida. We're going to keep an eye on that. Anybody from Florida here? We're going to keep an eye. Oh, there we go. All right, so we will watch that. Don't think it's going to turn into a named storm, but still keeping an eye. Okay, you guys, you happy it's Friday? Yeah! Wave to everybody at home. Back to you, Steve, Abby, and Brian.
All right.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Happy 75th birthday.
Absolutely. You know what? It feels like football weather out there. That's the kind
And
of
chilly weather.
And speaking
I
of
love eating
football.
chili. Yeah, what do the fans think about all those anthem protests?
I took 3 shots for this country. I still stand for the flag. We all should stand for the flag.
Todd Pyro went to Green Bay, Lambeau Field, to find out, and he's live next.
Then it's a side of Simon Cowell you've never seen before. Harvey Levin takes us inside his home for a must-see interview of the newly married guy with a kid. He's the TMZ founder with a brand new show on our network. He'll be telling us inside stories shortly.
Some quick Friday morning headlines for you. First up, former Attorney General Eric Holder is heading to Hollywood. Deadline.com says a new TV show inspired by Holder's time at the Department of Justice is now in the works. The dramatic series called Main Justice will air on CBS and will be co-produced by the former Attorney General himself. And as Holder heads to L.A., Oprah Winfrey could be plotting a trip to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The media mogul tweeting a New York Post article titled, "Democrats' Best Hope for 2020, Oprah," adding, quote, "Thanks for your vote of confidence." While there is so much speculation, Winfrey has said she would never run for office. But that was then. Who knows about the future?
Be a race to watch, Brian?
Nope.
Maybe. I don't know. Was there anyone better than the last one? The national spotlight on Green Bay last night where players linked arms and stood during the national anthem.
A much different scene than last Sunday when hundreds protested by taking a knee.
But what do the fans think? We sent Todd Pyro to Green Bay to find out, and he joins us right now. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, guys. Just as Lambeau Field behind me here is special to so many football fans, the national anthem is beyond special to so many Americans. And so last night before the Bears-Packer game, we spoke with fans about what standing for the national anthem means to them. As a veteran, when people kneel for the national anthem, what do you think?
I've been through 2 wars. I've seen a lot, lost a lot of friends, and that flag is actually something. I mean, to see that, it's a terrible thing, man.
When people kneel, what goes through your head?
Stand out.
Ashamed. Ashamed of our country.
We all should stand for the flag. This is America.
I don't even want to tell you what I feel because I think it's just